Welcome back to another video on the JJ Think Tank. I hope you're doing well today. And my topic of discussion will be about the profound schizophrenic Anglo-Saxon Logos. So, there is definitely a process in our culture at the moment where a lot of people have an uninformed, ignorant bias and hate towards the English. And I understand it, of course. I do understand it because the British Empire, it gave a lot of good to the world, but it also done a lot of bad. Well, let's admit this, yes? Both sides are right here. Both sides are right. I think both the English and you know, the people from the third world and from other countries are right, yes, in their criticism. And then the English are right in highlighting that the British Empire gave a lot of good to the world. Because it's true that the English, specifically the English and Americans as well, they have a superiority when it comes to government, organisation, some aspects of developing technologies, science, and yes, they have this kind of we'd say talent or the right mindset or mentality, because when we look back at the history of England, obviously I don't know a lot. I've read a couple of books about English history. Obviously I was brought up in London. I went to school in London, so I learned about English history, British history, and in general, the UK, they have such a system that the individual is allowed to have a lot of freedom to develop his life, yes, his liberty. Obviously, Napoleon, for example, he said that the English are a nation of shopkeepers. That is funny. There is some truth to it, but the English also they're adventurous, aren't they? So they navigate the world. They also have a heroic side to them. They're not afraid of the unknown. This is a good trait, yes. So yes. When we start to think about any ethnicity, any culture, we can find the good and the bad, yes. And the problem is that we need to talk more, we need to discuss more, we need to exchange ideas, thoughts, we need to engage in the dialectical process, ideally between different people, yes, so people from different backgrounds and ethnicities, and be open and recognise the human in the other, because this allows a lot of unnecessary conflicts to be resolved, I think. So yes, going back to the British Empire, of course, the British, I'm talking more about the establishment, yes, because the British Empire, it also caused a lot of inequality in England itself, yes, so not all English people benefited from the British Empire. I mean, only a certain faction of English people benefited from the process of empire building, yes. And these people, they were ruthless, weren't they? They were kind of a bit psychopathic. But through this psychopathy and this ruthlessness, they created this empire. They tried to reform other nations to make them adopt the Western model. At times it worked, at other times it didn't. At times they were rash. The British were rash. The British establishment was quite rash and didn't appreciate the other They didn't allow the other to assert their own dominance and their own way of developing. Yes, and we see this in recent history. So obviously the Iraq War, war in Afghanistan, all these wars in the Middle East. The Americans and the British, they are too rash. They are too rash in these establishments. Yes, they're too rash in trying to change the countries of the Middle East. You need to allow the people from the Middle East to develop in their own way, yes? Let them adopt some aspects of the Western model, and then let them adopt some of their own cultural codes, yes? Obviously, this is a difficult process. It's easier to talk about it than to act, yes? But, you know, I'm just sharing my thoughts, yes? My reflections and what I think about this. But anyway, going back to the schizophrenic Anglo-Saxon Logos. So here, this is a deep issue. It's a philosophical issue, and the thought, I think, of Aleksandr Dugin sheds a lot of light on the nature of the Anglo-Saxons and their Logos, and using this, we can interpret the past, and we can perhaps create a more just and fair world in the future, yes? So, this is a key quote of Aleksandr Dugin's, and it goes as follows. History is local. A shared sense of history is possible only on the basis of the domination of one society over another, and imposing its own history and thus its identity on the enslaved one. And this is true. I've noticed this about the American Empire and the British Empire. They project kind of their own view of other people, other nations sometimes. So for instance, let's talk about Poland, yes, because I'm Polish, and this will help to clarify the issue, clarify the point I'm trying to make. So there's one case study, for example, and this is Poland and its relation to Russia, yes? And Poland's history, Poland's identity, and how sometimes I feel that the Americans and the English, they sometimes label Poland and try to force it into confrontations that Poland actually doesn't want. Real Polish people, they recognize that this is not good for their nation, and this is prime example is the eternal conflict between Poland and Russia. Sometimes I feel is there's obviously evidence, historical facts that that Poland is viewed as a buffer state to be used against Russia in order to weaken it. Yes, so we can see such information in CIA manuals, in CIA manuals, and in the past the English they fomented various rebellions, Polish uprisings, to weaken Russia. And now, when I engage in Twitter conversations, in conversations online, sometimes a British person would reply, but this is the identity of the Polish people. The Polish people hate Russia. It's their identity. But the thing is, identities change, thoughts change, ideas change. We can change our approach, and hopefully Poland has learned from history that whenever it enters a war, it ultimately loses out, because it's impossible for Poland to fight on both fronts, so against Russia and Germany at the same time, and expect to achieve positive outcomes. It's impossible. And this is why this divide and conquer strategy of the Anglo-Saxons, I don't think it's ultimately fair for some nations, yes? It's not fair, it's not just, and Hopefully it doesn't continue. Many other countries are in the same basket as Poland, so there are a lot of countries between the east and the west that have to balance their interests between the west and the east. And this reiterates my point that those countries between east and west, they are the most interesting countries, we could argue, yes, because they find themselves within this landmass where there is a clash between Western culture, Western civilization, and Eastern culture, Eastern civilization. So countries such as Turkey, Poland, etc. Yes. So yes, these are my thoughts regarding history and Aleksandr Dugin's quote. It's true. It's true. There is such a process, and it's kind of labeling, negating, putting another nation into a box, not allowing them to develop on their own terms, which paradoxically would actually bring more peace to the world and a fairer and more just world order. That is my opinion. But anyway, let's go into the profound schizophrenic Anglo-Saxon Logos. Logos. So Dugin is a very controversial philosopher. I agree that sometimes he has a tendency to fall into kind of propaganda. Sometimes he's led by his emotions too much. But I understand these emotions. I do understand these emotions because I'm Slavic as well. I have some Russian blood. I understand Russian culture, Russian civilization. I understand that Russia is emerging. I think is emerging now as a key civilization, as a new civilization, a new culture that should be treated as a separate entity. It's not part of either the West or the East. Yes. And therefore, you need to allow Russia to develop on its own terms, because we saw when Yeltsin was put into power, he just destroyed Russia for Western interests. If you read up on the history, you'll notice that this happened. Yes, and so this is why Putin is a world historical figure. He will be remembered for many years, or we don't know for how long he will be remembered, but he will definitely be remembered as a leader who ultimately put Russia, I think, on the right path. There's a lot of propaganda against Putin, warranted, I guess. He is ruthless. He is a bit of a dictator. At times in the past, but he progressed Russia. He made Russia progress. Yes. And of course, perhaps he has been in power for too long now. I think there is a rebellion taking place in Russia. I think at this moment in time, it's a rebellion of the mind. Perhaps they want to change the regime. Perhaps because Putin's getting old now, and a new leader needs to appear. Who will perhaps continue this journey of Russia's, yes. But yes, so returning to Dugin, he's a bit propagandistic and rhetorical. He has these crazy statements sometimes. Sometimes he suddenly says, "Oh, anti-white." He's anti-white. But what he means by this is the whiteness as liberal whiteness. Liberal as an identity, the white liberal identity. He's not talking about a white person as a physical person. I think this is what he's trying to say, because that's the key distinction between white liberal mentality and just a white person. Yes, I think this is what he means. Also, he gets emotional because obviously his daughter, his daughter was assassinated by, I don't know by who, but she lost her life because they were both engaged in politics, and and engaged in the situation in Ukraine. So obviously he's undergoing a lot of trauma there. So we need to have empathy, compassion, yes. And this is why we shouldn't negate him, because now and even before the death of his daughter, he created. Well, he created so many interesting concepts and ideas. He has written a lot of books. He has published a lot of material online, many lectures. You can find them. I especially recommend the lecture series Noomakhia. Noomakhia. You can find this on YouTube. I'll show you how you can type it. Noomakhia. Noomakhia. This is how you type it. This is how you spell it. And it's a lecture series that you can find on YouTube, where Dugin gave lectures in Serbia about the identity of countries, their logos. So he talks about France, he talks about Germany, he talks about England, he talks about America, he talks about Chinese civilization, he talks about African civilization, he talks about Arabic civilization, Latin America, I think, as well. And you can pick up a lot of interesting thoughts and ideas. But yes, I want to focus on the Anglo-Saxon Logos, because this is more relevant to me, because I have a British English identity to some degree, I think, based due to my experience and the fact that I was born in London and lived in England for a long time. Obviously, I don't have English blood, so in that sense, I'm not English, obviously. But I understand kind of the English mentality, I think, and this is my interpretation. I might be wrong. I'm just sharing what I think, and it kind of correlates with what Dugin says. So the Anglo-Saxon Logos is profoundly kind of schizophrenic. It's torn. It's chthonic and matriarchal in nature. So, and this makes sense because Anglo-Saxons, English people, Americans, they're good at extracting kind of matter from the earth in order to build kind of material prosperity. This is true, which is why Western countries are much more prosperous. Yes, the average GDP of GDP per capita in the West is higher, yes, than in other countries. Obviously, it's high in Japan, it's high in South Korea. Perhaps these East Asian countries also have kind of a matriarchal mentality, chthonic mentality. But yes, so this schizophrenia of the English was played out when they were building their empire. So they wanted to explore, yes, schizophrenia. They kind of wanted to explore. They wanted to expand, yes, and it has led to our current moment in time, where we have this brilliant, technical, advanced Western civilization. It has made a key impact in history. But of course, now that we should state that there are many negative externalities. This advanced technical civilization, it comes with costs, with many costs. And this is reflected in our culture. Our culture in the West is breaking down, it's becoming fragmented. And hopefully we can reverse this, we can make our culture whole again. But I'll get into this a bit later. I want to talk now about American pragmatism, because I think, obviously, first we had the British Empire, and then it morphed into the American Empire. And what America brought was this unique pragmatic mentality. So the American Logos, the English Logos is more schizophrenic, it's deeper, I think. The English, because the Anglo-Saxon world, the Western world began in England, didn't it? So first we had the British Empire, and then we had the American Empire, right? But what America is a bit different from England, right? So Americans, they have this pragmatic nature, an even more extreme form of like capitalism, we could say. They're even more they're even more capitalistic, yes, and 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 so through this pragmatic mentality, if they notice that something works, then they adopt it, yes. They don't really think about values perhaps or about deeper issues. They just look, yes, if something works and it helps, it makes the world a better place, then they adopt such a mode of action, yes. And this is especially true when it comes to technology science and its applications. So a lot of science, yes, is developed in America. A lot of groundbreaking science appears there, yes. So I mean, personally, I think this is good. I like this. Here Dugin is wrong. I think Dugin sometimes he goes the other way too much. He some underlying hate perhaps sometimes. Sometimes, yeah, not all the time. We'll see, but obviously this is partly his fault. I'm kind of copying him a little bit with this thought of mine, but I've noticed this as well. This American pragmatism, and yes, but ultimately, now we have to argue that this process it leads also to a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion, because this pragmatism, this American pragmatism, it leads to less real cultural diversity. It creates this kind of fake liberal identity, this fake kind of liberal multiculturalism, we could say, in some ways, I think. And I don't know if this is ultimately good. Well, we need some order sometimes. We need hierarchy. We need a sense of hierarchy as well. We need to return to traditional values. And yes, I mean, not much more to say here. Every person will have a different interpretation. Yes, every person will have a different perspective, and the only way to resolve our differences is to speak. Yes, we need to speak. We need to interact with people from different backgrounds. We can't fall into groupthink too much, because I think this is dangerous as well. This is dangerous because it can lead to negative outcomes and kind of blind nationalism. Rather than having a healthy sense of patriotism, it leads to blind nationalism, which is destructive, and we don't want this. Well, I don't want this. You may call me a pussy. You may call me a fraud. I mean, I don't care. This is my worldview, really. I don't want. I don't want more wars. You know. Surely that's a normal view to have. We can avoid all these wars around the world. I mean, I think we truly can, if we just if we allow healthy dialogue to take place, healthy interaction. Yes. So now, going back now to this pragmatism, to this schizophrenic logos of the English. Now the English, yes, especially I'm noticing this. The English are trying to discover who they are again as a people, and this is good. They have just like every other nation has a right to assert their collective identity. The English also have a right. We can't say, oh no, there's no such thing as Britain, there's no such thing as English culture, etc. This is nonsense. Obviously, it's obvious that the English have their own specific culture, their own great works of art, etc. Shakespeare, H.P. Lovecraft. I keep going on about H.P. Lovecraft, but I think he's a genius. H.P. Lovecraft. Why? Okay, I know this is off the point, but why is H.P. Lovecraft a genius? Because it's kind of his mentality of cosmic indifference. It actually kind of frees you. It actually frees you in a way. Because when you try to control things too much, you worry too much. When you think about yourself as being so important, it damages your mental health. Whereas H.P. Lovecraft, he his worldview is that humans are just an insignificant speck of dust in the cosmos. And this is not nihilism. He wasn't a pessimist or nihilist. He just noticed kind of the fragility of humanity. And it's something that we have to acknowledge, yes, because when we acknowledge this, it actually frees us paradoxically, and we can take action and perhaps actually make the world a better place. Ultimately, I think I actually have the Kantian view. I think humans, I have the anthropomorphic. Is that how you say it? Anthropomorphic. I think. Yes. Anthropomorphic. I think humans are special, man. I think humanity, we are very special. We are very special. I truly believe this, and this is why Immanuel Kant is so important. He's a very important philosopher. I wrote an article about Kant on my Medium, and perhaps I'll make a video about him sometime in the future. But yes, so going back to the English and Americans, etc. So it's clear that English have their own cultures. It's obvious. So many great works of art came from England. Music, art, literature, philosophy. They're just their own specific logos, yes. And I think they're trying now to heal this logos, to not make it schizophrenic anymore, to make it whole again, and this is ultimately good for all of us. This is a good process. Obviously, I could list many other great works of art. That came out of England. Pink Floyd comes to mind. So Pink Floyd, a great band, probably the greatest rock band. I mean, in my opinion, the greatest rock band in history. English rock band. There we go. Syd Barrett, Nick Mason, Roger Waters, Richard White, and David Gilmour. Roger Waters, he is a very intelligent man when it comes to politics. He knows what he's talking about. So, yes, I could go on and on, but it's kind of besides the point now. Yes, so yes, we are certainly living in interesting times. A lot of changes taking place. I think I'm of the view that globalization has run its course. We are not ready for globalization, for more globalization. We don't want a global government. We want a multipolar world where regions appear, civilization states, or kind of regional kind of blocks. And this is a good process because it will grant more sovereignty to nations and their people. So this is a good process. And here I disagree with David Icke. So David Icke is against the multipolar world. So he's wrong here. I mean, this shows his Gnostic sophist worldview is dangerous. He's fallen into delusion, I think, because we need to feel empathy for him because he's an old man now, and he's simply fallen into delusion. I think he needs to accept Jesus Christ. I think this will help him. So yes, how can we ultimately what is the key? What is the key thought or idea that will allow us to create this fairer, more just and peaceful world, this multipolar world? It has to begin with recognizing the humanity in the other. This is key. I've noticed this in my life. You have to notice that you yourself are human, and that the person you're interacting with is also a human. Because humans, we share a lot. We do share a lot. Of course, we have our differences, but ultimately we share a lot. Yes, we are human. Yes, we are human, and this is the starting point. Which is why I ended my article with this quote with this this short statement by Eckhart Tolle. Tolle, I don't know how to pronounce it, but yes, he said to love is to recognize yourself in another, and this is 100% true. 100% true. And let's see what happens. Yes, let's see what happens. Ultimately, at this moment in time, I'm more positive than before. Obviously, there's a lot of hate. There's a lot of hate in the world, but hopefully this changes. Yes. Anyway, that's the end of my video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found found out something interesting, some important information. I like this little diagram. So when I typed into Google, Anglo-Saxon schizophrenic logos, this kind of appeared, and here we have the different logoses. So it's the Siberian logos is matriarchal. It focuses on matter, on time, blackness, aleatory motion, pure multiplicity. The Apollonian logos is very logical. It's clear. It's pure light. Yes, teleology, pure unity, lightness, eternity. The Dionysian logos is in between. It's in between the darkness and the light. And this is where humanity finds itself. We are... The vast majority of humanity operates, I believe, in the Dionysian logos. We are a mixture of lightness and darkness. And yes, I like this little diagram. I thought it was quite interesting to look at. Anyway, yes, that's the end of the video. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It'll help me grow the channel and share more vital information that I think will help a lot of people out there. If you like the video even more, consider donating at Buy Me a Coffee. I will provide a link in the description. And yes, that's all for today. All the best and take care.